Michelle Ellson of the Allemande newspaper wrote a story about Maya Robles-Wong. Maya had been a competitive rower since she was 10 years old, and when she got to high school, she wanted to take an upper-level math class to be more competitive for college. However, Maya could not take this class because she had not met her physical education requirements, therefore had to take a physical education course. If Maya had been able to take that upper-level course, she could further herself in society, therefore creating a more sustainable society. Today, I want to discuss with you why the Nebraska Department of Education should allow high school athletes to opt out of their physical education requirements. We will begin by discussing adolescent health. We will then move on to the current physical education requirements. And finally, we will discuss how sports cover the 6 strands of physical education. In 2012, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention stated that obesity has quadrupled in the last 20 years. Childhood obesity is now up to 33%. The United States Department of Health and Human Services in 2008 states that this can lead to a premature death. In an article, the United States Surgeon General stated this: "Every one of us has an important role to play in the prevention and control of obesity. Mothers, fathers, teachers, business executives, child care professionals, clinicians, politicians, and government and community leaders. We must all commit to change to promote health and wellness of our families and communities." Her report later goes on to state that 65% of teens spend 3.5 hours of their day in front of a television screen, and only 36% of teens spend 60 minutes of physical activity. Sports can help cover those 60 minutes of physical activities during the school year and even during the summer. We will now move on to discuss the current physical education requirements. Currently, 37 states require that you have physical education classes in order to graduate from high school, and only 17 of those states require or have any option program. 100% of the schools require that you have a physical education program, and only 18% allow an option program. That number is way too low. The Nebraska Department of Education currently has Nebraska Essential Standards in place for language arts programs, math, science, and social studies, but not for physical education. Nebraska needs to take the next step and set a standard for all schools to abide by. The Nebraska Department of Education has come up with 6 strands of physical education that are required by all PE classes. I have come up with a personal example to provide with each of those strands. The first strand being basic motor skills, therefore running, jumping, and catching. A sport that would go well with basic motor skills, along with many of the other strands, would be basketball. You must be able to dribble, catch, shoot, and play defense in order to become an effective basketball player. And even if you're not playing in games, you're getting those basic motor skills every day in practice. Movement concepts and strategies. This would be like self-evaluation and transition from offense to defense. And a sport that goes well with that would be soccer, when in one instant you're defending your goal and the next instant you're attacking your opponent's goal. Soccer is a perfect transition from self-evaluation on the court and offense to defense transition. The third strand is 60 minutes of activity, even while you're injured. One sport that goes big with this is track and field. Personally, my little brother was in track and field and he suffers from shin splints, so often cannot participate in practice. However, he's still able to ice his legs, bike, and do weight training in order to further himself in the sport. Creating plans and goals. A good example of a sport that helps you create plans and goals would be cross country. And though every race, even though you're not running at your peak, you can still set goals to improve yourself and improve and always getting better. The fifth strand is responsibility and following the rules. A great sport for this would be the sport of golf. In the sport of golf, if you hit a great shot but it ends up in the water, you have to take penalty strokes, and there's no way around this. This teaches kids to follow the rules even though you might not want to, and you have to be responsible and call yourself, or else it's really embarrassing. And the sixth and final strand is how you can grow as a person and learn about yourself. I witnessed this firsthand as our girls volleyball team competed this year, and although they suffered many losses, I saw them bounce back and be able to evaluate themselves and make themselves better athletes and people. Sports cover all 6 of these strands, and physical education classes may not cover all those classes in a year. Plus, sports allow you to do these in the summer to further evaluate yourself. Today, we looked at adolescent health and how 33% of kids are now obese, and they require 60 minutes of activity. However, they're spending 3.5 hours in front of the TV screen. We then looked at the current physical education requirements and how there's requirements in place for language arts, math, science, and social studies, but not for physical education. And finally, I showed you how sports meet the 6 strands of physical education here in the state of Nebraska. Maya could have furthered herself in society. However, athletes should not be required to take additional physical education classes.